Hi there. Quick question for you. Have an iPhone? Do you use Siri? In this video, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you on my old 10s Max how to set up Siri so that it works best for a visually impaired person. Regardless of whether you are dark blind, legally blind, or just coming to terms with age-related vision loss, Siri can help you do a lot of things that you may not be aware of. So we're going to kind of get into first setting it up and then showing you a few things that Siri does that you may not be aware of. Sound good? Stick around. Hey Siri, tell me a fun joke.
Where was the U.S. Constitution signed? The bottom.
Really? For this and more, check this out. Hi there, welcome to the Legally Blind Geek YouTube channel. My name is Mike. On this channel, I focus on overcoming low vision challenges. Today's challenge, we're going to take a look at, an in-depth look at, Siri. Setting it up so that it works best for a person that's visually impaired. And normally sighted people, for that matter, can get a lot of benefit out of these settings, especially older folks. We're going to talk about Hey Siri. We're going to talk about setting it up so it works over the speaker. So in case of one of those emergency type situations comes up and somebody needs to call for help, the phone will work. Sound like a good idea to you? Let's get into it. By the way, go ahead and just grab your phone, follow along with us as we go through. The first bit of the video is going to be a screen recording that I did on my 10, setting it up. Yours might look a little bit differently, but all the settings are going to be there. And at the end of the video, I'm going to go through 20 or so things that Siri will do that I'm sure you're going to find one or two of them that you didn't think about. Okay? Sound good? Let's get into it. Here we go. First we go to the settings icon on the home screen. Open settings and scroll down until we find
Siri search button.
Siri search. We're going to open Siri search.
Ask Siri heading.
And then we have some toggles here that we want to make sure that are turned on. And the goal here is to set Siri so we can say HEY Siri and then the voice assistant perk up, listen to what we ask and satisfy our questions or satisfy our request. So the first item on the list is
Listen for Hey Siri on.
when this is turned on, your iOS and, well, your phone and your iPad both, and even your Mac can be set up to listen for HEY Siri. So you might want to be careful if you're in a room full of these devices. They'll all chime when you say the magic word. So you might want to be selective as to which one of these you use to access the voice assistant. The point here being is you don't want too many devices going off and listening and making noises at the same time. So the next item on the list
Press side button for Siri on.
is on newer devices. Say, I'm pretty sure they started with like the iPhone 10. The home button left the bottom center of the screen and was replaced by a home button or a side button that was on the top right-hand side of the iPhone, such as with my iPhone 10. Turning this on allows you to press and hold that button and speak your inquiry. Release the button, Siri will do its best to fulfill your request. Or you can just press and hold it for a second or two. You'll hear the tone saying Siri, yada, yada, yada. Release it, ask your question, and go on, and it will have a delay. We can set that delay up here in a little bit. We'll talk about that in a minute. The next item on the list
Allow Siri when locked on.
is you want to turn it on. So if by chance you need to ask a question like, what time is it? What's the weather like? You don't have the phone in your hand. It's locked. It's sitting on the table or it's across the room. If the phone can hear you and you say the magic words, you'll hear the tone. You can ask your question. And this makes that possible if you have it this feature turned on. So let's see what else we can do here. Next item on the list.
Language. English, United States. Button.
Your language may be different, but this is where you can set the language for Siri.
Siri voice. American, voice 5. Button.
And this is where you can select the voice that you wish Siri to speak in. I'll open that up just a bit. There's a whole list of voices you can choose from.
Variety. Heading.
And most of these you'll have to download if you haven't already. But see, I've got the little blue check here
Selected. American.
for the American version that I'm using.
Siri search. Back. Siri search. Siri voice. American, voice 5. Button.
Next on the list,
Siri responses. Button.
Siri responses.
Spoken responses. Heading. Selected. Prefer spoken responses.
And I prefer the spoken response because I don't see what's on the screen that well unless I have my magnifier and I have the text turned completely up, which isn't always practical because the larger the text is, the less information is provided on the screen, which that means you have to scroll more.
Siri will speak when possible, including when silent mode is on. Always show Siri captions. Off.
You may choose to turn that on. I don't,
Show what Siri says on screen.
because I don't really see what's on the screen.
Always show speech. Off. Show a transcription of your speech on screen.
Basically what that is saying, turned on as you speak, you will see the words you say appear on the screen.
Show a transcription of your speech on screen.
If that's important to you, then that's where you turn this on and off at.
Siri search. Siri search. Siri responses. Button.
Next on the list,
Call hang up. Off. Button.
if you want to turn this on, you can say, "Hey Siri, hang up the phone."
Hey Siri. Hang up is available during phone and FaceTime calls for hang up requests when supported headphones are connected. Voice input is processed on iPhone, and transcripts and audio are not sent to Apple.
This is an important one. This is one that I use a lot.
Announce notifications. On.
And what this does when this is turned on is when you get a notification, depending upon how you have notifications set up under the notifications tab. But I have it set up so that when I get a text message from someone, it will tell me that I have a text message. It will pause and then it will read that text message to me.
Have Siri read out notifications. Siri will avoid interrupting you and will listen after reading notifications so you can respond or take actions without saying Hey Siri. Siri will announce notifications from new apps that send time-sensitive notifications or direct messages.
And the way I control this, if I'm in the middle of doing some work that I don't want to be interrupted, I just turn airplane mode on, and that seems to filter out most, if not all, but the most urgent messages that I have set up, to be interrupted by.
Announce when connected to. Heading. Headphones. On. CarPlay. Off. Button. Siri can read out notifications when supported headphones are connected.
And for the most part, I don't want to be notified if I'm in a car. I don't really have a car of my own, so I don't know why I would turn that on. I'm generally always a passenger and doing my own thing in my own little world while I let the person drive do their thing.
Reply without confirmation. Off. When acting on a notification that supports replies, have Siri send replies without first reading back the message.
So this might be important to you. For me, I just reply in person or when I get to it.
Announce notifications from.
We're going to back out of Siri search. Now that we've got her set up that way, we're going to scroll back up to accessibility.
Accessibility. Button. Vision. Heading.
Under the Generals heading, or the Generals portion of this heading, we find Siri. We're going to open that.
Type to Siri. Off.
And here we have,
Type to Siri. Off.
we're going to turn Type to Siri off.
Siri will listen for voice input when you press and hold the side button.
So we talked about that earlier. So when we press the side button, Siri will listen to what we have to say. Now, the next setting we're going to get into affects that if you just push it until you hear the chime for Siri and then you release it, how long she will pause or wait to listen for what you're going to say.
Siri pause time. Heading. Selected. Default.
I have it set at default. You might want to change it to something else. You can make it long.
Longest.
Personally, I just press and hold the button.
Set how long Siri waits for you to finish speaking. Spoken responses. Heading. Automatic. Selected. Prefer spoken responses. Siri will speak when possible, including when silent mode is on.
And silent mode is the mute button that's located on the left-hand side top corner, right above the volume rocker.
Always listen for Hey Siri. On.
This is where you turn on another location where you can turn on the Hey Siri.
Listen for Hey Siri when your iPhone is facing down or covered.
So if you lay it face down so that you can see the beautiful color on the back of your screen, or if it's covered up or something like that where the sound might be otherwise be muffled, this kind of helps mitigate that.
Show apps behind Siri. On.
You want to be able to see apps behind Siri, turn this on.
Allows the current app to remain visible while Siri is active.
So what this basically means is if you are, say, on Safari doing something and you needed to check something or send something else, say you want to send somebody a text message, you can say, Hey Siri, send text message to, asking if they're still available at the scheduled time or whatever the message might be. It will listen, it will process and send without leaving the app that you're currently working in, especially if you were on a website or a web page somewhere and it caused you to remember, oh yeah, I'm supposed to meet so-and-so for such and such. So that's a good reason for using that.
Announce notifications on speaker. On.
This comes in handy as well when you have to say, if you had to do an emergency call and you were in a situation where the phone was not in your immediate control, not in your hand, and you needed to say, Hey Siri, call an emergency number. When it makes the call, somebody picks up, it would automatically be on speaker, so you can communicate with them. You can hear the speaker, they can hear you.
Announce notifications. Button. Siri announces your notifications to you over your device's speaker. Announce notifications. Button.
And this is where you would set up what notifications you want to have that feature on and which ones you would rather not have it on.
Siri announces your notifications to you over your call hang up. Off. Button. Call hang up. Button.
And we talked about that before in the other setting. If you want to turn this on, you can. I don't, because when I generally just let it do its thing. And that
Siri,
is basically
button.
all there is to turning on and setting up Siri. It really helps a visually impaired person that can't necessarily see what is on the screen of the iPhone in any, appreciable detail. It's really easy to go in and set up Siri properly on an iPhone or an iPad for that matter, that makes it more friendly, more usable for someone with a visual impairment, and even normally sighted folks can benefit a lot from using Siri, especially kind of like as a hands-free voice assistant. I like Siri. Hopefully now you will too. Now let's get into some of the things that Siri can help us do that we may or may not be aware of. First off, a lot of people aren't really good at math, and Siri is pretty good at doing math equations. For instance, if you're out and about and you're eating at a restaurant and you want to leave a tip, but you're not quite sure how much of a tip to leave, you can ask Siri, say, hey Siri, what's 30% of X, so many dollars? Or if the party of you, 2, 3, or 4, and the check is $100 and you want to know what each one should pay if it's 5 or 6 of you, you can just say, hey Siri, what's $100 divided by 6? And she'll tell you. Another thing you can do is you can check on locations. This is particularly helpful for visually impaired that can't read addresses, whether it's on a mailbox or a street sign. You can just say, "Hey Siri, where am I?" Siri will chime in there and tell you where you're at. Another option that you can use HEY Siri for is to open or launch your favorite app, or an app that you can't really find. Sometimes on the home screen the icons kind of get confusing. You can just say, HEY Siri, open certain app, and she'll open that up for you. Now, a lot of times, just so that you know, you'll have to unlock your phone so that she can do that, because third-party apps just work that way. Some things that you can do that doesn't require unlocking the phone would be, "Hey Siri, what's the weather like?"
It's currently cloudy and 57 degrees. Expect clear skies starting early evening. Today's high will be 68 degrees and the low will be 50 degrees.
And Siri will answer those types of questions. Or you can say, "Hey Siri, what time is it?"
57 a.m.
And she'll answer that. And then, something else that you can do that really helps me as a visually impaired person is set reminders. And I can just say, HEY Siri, set reminder for podiatry appointment November 5th at 9 a.m. And she'll do that. She'll set that as a reminder. Or I can say, go to this shopping list or that shopping list and add this or take this off or something like that. And it does a pretty good job with that as well. And moving right along down my list here, number 5, I have clock and alarm settings. You can go in and you can say, "Hey, HEY Siri, set alarm for whatever time you want to set for," and she'll set that alarm for you. You can also go in and say, "Start timer for X minutes or so many hours." You can also go in and say, HEY Siri, clear timer, and it will clear all of the presets that you set up before in the past, as far as 3-minute timer, 4-minute timer, 15-minute timer, what have you. And another one, kind of important, we touched on a little bit earlier, is number 6 in my list. It's like call emergency services. Now, when you do this, sometimes, especially if accidents happen, whether we're young, old, or whatnot. If you have your phone set up properly like we talked about, and it's not in your hand, it's not in your pocket, and you have fallen, or you've gotten yourself into some kind of trouble and you can't get up, you can't get to the phone, you can yell out, HEY Siri, call your emergency contact. It might be 911 or whatever it happens to be, and it will dial, call, and it'll pick up so that it's on speaker. And if you've ever had it with the speaker not turned on, you can't hear it. You can't hear when somebody answers the phone. With the speaker turned on and the volume turned up loud enough that you can hear it across the room, that's a setting that really comes in pretty handy that Siri will help with. Another common is, send and receive messages, text messages, emails, and this sort of thing as well. And you can also ask me to read the last email or read the last text, and she will do that for you too. So, you're in the middle of a conversation and so-and-so just sent you a note, "Hey, remember this?" You looked at it, you listened to it, you thought, "Oh, okay." And then a couple minutes later, you're kind of like, "Oh, shoot, now I got sidetracked. What was I supposed to remember?" You can say, "What was my last text message?" And she'll read it to you. Or he'll read it to you. Depends on what voice you've got set up. Another one, really common, comes in really handy for me is, turn volume up, turn volume down on my phone. Especially comes in handy when I'm listening to a podcast or, some music in the background. And something else that's kind of cool that you can do, if you have this set up in contacts, because a lot of the inquiries that you make about certain individuals, people that are in your contacts, if you go in and you fill out all of the information and even put something in the notes section as far as a particular contact, you can say, "What is so-and-so's birth date?" Or "What does someone's wedding anniversary. And as long as that's in the contacts, generally speaking, it will answer that question for you. And then, let's see, what is next on the list here? Oh, convert stuff. So you're cooking, and the recipe calls for so many cups of something, and you're not familiar with cups, you're familiar with liters. You can just say convert 2.5 cups to liters, or vice versa. You can also say, hey, how many inches are in a centimeter, or how many centimeters are in an inch? You can ask these types of questions, and Siri will search the web and she'll come up with some answer for you. You can also ask or tell Siri to play a certain album, or play some music, or select a mood. You can say, hey, play something soothing, or play a lullaby, or play holiday music, whether it's birthday music or Christmas music, or 4th of July music, or just whatever's appropriate. You can ask for different kinds of music, and she'll do that for you as well. And then where are we at now? Oh, 14. This is one that a lot of the kids have fun with. It's kind of like come up with some kind of off-the-wall question to ask and see what answer Siri comes out with. It can pass the time. And then, 15, adjust the screen brightness. If you don't have your screen on auto where it gets bright or dim, you might go outside and discover that you can't see the screen on your phone. You can say, hey Siri, turn on brightness up 100%. Or on the other hand, if you go from inside to outside, you need to dim it down a little bit, you can do the same thing. It'll dim so it's not quite so bright. Number 16. Show photos of a person or object. Ask Siri to open this photo library, that photo library, or find a picture of this item or that item, or this person or that person, or your pet. You just need to make sure when you take your photos and you set your photos up, you go in and fill out that information on that photo. This was taken at such and such time, such and such place, and this is, this beautiful landscape or sunset or whatever. You just need to make sure that you can be as detailed as possible so it knows what to look for. It will look for that information and make it available to you. And number 17 is translate, and you want to ask a French person, what is your name? My French is really terrible. I can say, je m'appelle Mike, n'est-ce pas? And somebody laugh at me, correct me if you feel good about it, that's okay. It's been a long time since I've been to France, and my French is terrible. I've been told this before. You don't hurt my feelings. But you get the idea. You can ask Siri what this is in a different language. More often than not, give you a pretty good answer. When I say a pretty good answer, there's a lot of slang terms and stuff out there that maybe come across as a little bit funny, entertaining, but that's okay. At least she gives you a better idea than what you may have had. You can say, what's the capital city of Spain? You can also ask how big something is, or what is the biggest ball of yarn? And she'll come up with an answer or something from the web as to explains what is the biggest whatever you have the desire to ask about. And then last but not least, let's see, number 20. Who was the first person to do this or that or discover something? Well, you can always ask, who was the first person to discover America? And she'll probably tell you Christopher Columbus, which historians will say, it's not quite true. So there's all sorts of things that you can ask Siri to do. So I'd be interested to see, if you don't care, you got a minute or two, use the comment section down below here, and let me know what you use Siri for most often. In this day, I hope you've had fun with this. Hope you found it interesting. If so, give us a thumbs up. If not, you think it's kind of boring or just done to death, give me a thumbs down. Tell me in the comment section down below, hey, this is boring, nothing new here. Okay. Consider subscribing. That way you can be made aware when we drop a new video, or when we're responding to comments or people ask different questions. If you tick that all button, you'll get made aware of the conversations that are going on. Hey, thanks a lot. Make it a great day. I'll catch you in the next video. Be safe, take care, and remember, overcoming low vision challenges isn't always easy, but it always has its advantages.